All right, my name is John Hascall. My wife Janine and I have lived in Ames for over 30 years. We have two children. David is a senior at Ames High School, active in the band. Our daughter Lyra is a first grader at Edwards. I work in the IT department at Iowa State University. My wife is a stay-at-home mom who used to work at the microbial genetics lab at Pioneer.
So why did you decide to run for re-election to the board?
Well, I felt that we hadn't got everything done that I intended to get done when I stepped up to fill the seat that Roy vacated. Obviously the facilities is one bit of unfinished business, and I think that we haven't gotten where we want to get on student achievement quite yet, and so I want to continue work in that area.
What impact, if any, does your area of residence in the community have on your stances?
I don't know that it has any impact on my stance as a board member. As a parent, obviously I'd like to see our school, Edwards, stay open, but I recognize that there are good plans that don't include that, as well as there are good plans that do include that. And the way I felt it when I got on the board and I knew this facility was coming up is I was going to vote on a total plan. Not any particular bit or piece of it that I didn't like or liked, because I realized that any plan is going to have aspects that everyone likes and dislikes, and so the only sane thing to me is to vote on a total plan.
Do you have family or close friends that are employed by the district?
No, I don't.
You touched on it a little bit, but are you happy with the district's student achievement record over the last several years?
I think that the top students at Ames do very, very well. I think that on the other hand, we have kids in the middle who may feel ignored at times, and kids who are struggling who definitely need more assistance. So we have some very good points, but we have some points that we need to address and improve. And I think we should always be striving to improve, a continuous improvement kind of process.
Kind of along those lines, the number of children in the district who come from low-income households has increased a lot over the last several years. What educational philosophies or programs do you think the district should use to address those challenges?
I think we're actually doing a number of good things in that area already. I think the responsive classroom at the elementary level is a great program. I see that it's helping children bond with their school, bond with their teacher, their classmates. I think that that's been a great thing. I think that the instructional coaches, I have great promise that this year the instructional coaches will help our teachers who are already great to get better in reaching every child. So those are things that I think that we're already doing, and we're starting to see promise from some, and we'll see promise from other ones. But we can't ever rest until every child is reaching their potential. So I think that we need to keep trying things and see which ones work and continue those things, and things that don't work, well, at least we tried.
What do you think is the ideal relationship between the superintendent and the school board, and who do you think should be the spokesperson on district policy?
District policy is the purview of the board. That doesn't necessarily make them the spokesperson, but it's all this is a collaborative arrangement between the administration and the board. And I think that we work really great with the administration we have now. That's one of the things that I'm very proud of what we've accomplished, is we've gotten a great administration in place, one we can work with collaboratively, one that we trust, one that trusts us. And I think we're making great progress in many areas. But at the same time, the board has to be careful not to just be a rubber stamp. I think with the IASB thing, we saw what can happen there. I'm not saying that would happen in Ames, but that's a danger that lurks out there when the board isn't doing their due diligence.
You mentioned the IASB. That was my next question, actually. In the past, the district has relied heavily on it for legal and procedural advice, and as you know, they've come under fire recently. What do you think should be the future relationship between the district and the IASB?
I'm really saddened about what happened at IASB. I think they just weren't paying enough attention, and some really terrible things happened to what was a really great organization for kids in Iowa, and I don't know how they repaired that. At this point, I think we're staying with them for financial reasons. In the past, we really depended on them for the ice cap borrowing to get us over some of our cash flow issues. That's an issue we've corrected. We did great work on the budget, and we're no longer in that situation where we have to borrow that money from their program. But we still have the insurance program to look at and see if there is some other way that we can do that without them, if it comes to that. I'd like to see them change. I'd like to see real evidence that they are changing. I haven't seen it yet, but I'd like to see them go back to being the great organization they were, and so we could stay. But if they're not, then I don't think we should be a part of them.
So what do you think is the best plan for Ames Elementary Schools?
I think the best plan is to get something done. There are many plans that would work. The plan we have in front of us will work. I suggested a different plan with 5 schools. That would work. Other plans have been suggested. Many of them will work. Some of them I have some trouble with particular aspects, but I think the important thing is people look at the whole plan, decide if the plan in front of them is one they can support as a whole, not one particular, I want this little thing or I don't want this little thing, but is it a good thing for Ames as a whole? And definitely, we need capacity. We need to fix our schools. That's the important thing, is to get that done.
So what role does Roosevelt play in all this for you? Is it a sticking point at all for your support for the plan?
No, and I think that you hear from the extremes on this, so it seems like I'm an outlier in not being wedded to one position or the other, but I suspect that the vast majority of Ames is actually in that position where they're looking at the whole plan. I could accept plans with it or without it. I happen to think it's a good location. It makes coverage of housing areas better than some other arrangements that we've seen. I'm not wedded to the building. That said, our estimates from the architects are that renovation will be cheaper than building new. From the people I've heard from that neighborhood, the vast majority of them are in favor of renovation over building new. And so I can go with that. It's cheaper, it's what they want. I don't see any reason not to do a renovation versus a rebuild under those circumstances.
So what about the high school's future?
That's one that's further off in the future. There's some new things at the high school. There are some things that are getting a little long in the tooth. The pool is a real concern, how long that will live. There's other aspects like the traffic flow inside the building that are problematic. So yes, we're going to need to address that. The time frame to me is unclear. If we were going to do a piecemeal thing, we might start sooner. If we were to decide that a complete rebuild was in order there, then that might be further off in the future. I think it's yet to be determined exactly what's going to happen there, but something is going to have to happen there in the future, not near term.
So why should people vote for you?
I'll tell you who shouldn't vote for me. If what you're really interested in is absolutely no way seeing Roosevelt under any circumstance, then you shouldn't vote for me, because I can't make the promise that I won't pick that. On the other hand, if what you want is somebody who has a track record of being thoughtful, of being fiscally prudent, of seeking to do things that benefit the children of this district, then I think you should continue to vote for me.
Is there anything else you'd like to say?
No, I think you covered it quite well, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks.